And I think we need to place sort of libraries back at the front in that way and show how important it is to try to fight for them and preserve them. So hopefully my book will contribute to that a little bit. So anyway, so that's what led me into it becoming what became such a big project and proved to be very demanding. So within that, I've got a very clear political message. So I've got lots of references in it to try to convince people of what I'm saying, that I'm not scaremongering. I've actually got a lot of evidence that I thought about it in a lot of depth, which is why the book ended up being so big. And also, I guess, because it's my first book, I sort of did rather pour myself into it. So I'm not sure my publisher's too happy about that, because they put the price up for producing it. But anyway, I'm sure you'll all buy lots of copies to compensate, hopefully. Trans is quite a new publisher. It's been going for a couple of years now, and it's really built up a very good series. Got the copies of the catalogue on the table. You can see how many titles have now been built up. We had 11 in the first year. I think we've got something like 80 odd now. On a wide variety of topics, all in the information profession area. Through from knowledge management, digitisation, public libraries. There's just all sorts of subjects in there. So I do have a copy of the catalogue. I've also got lots of my articles around that you're quite happy to have. The books themselves, there's a 30% discount tonight if anyone would like to buy a copy. And hopefully, little by little, we can start to make a difference and to make people start to think again. Because I think the traditional conformist politics today is more or less dead. Labour's been taken over by, it's Tory Mark II. We've got the old Labour's dead and buried. We've got no alternative really. So it seems to me we've got to look outside the normal political arena to rethink things and to start again to some extent. And so I think that writing is a wonderful way in which we can do this, and having meetings and discussions, and people travelling across the world like this is fantastic. I've been involved in a group called Attack, which are another very good movement that's set up in France by Susan George, and it's been very active, particularly in Europe, on sort of the anti-global agenda and against sort of large finance and things. And Matty is going to speak from LSE to us a bit more about that shortly, and delight us with the violin. I could go into lots more detail about the facts of my book, but I don't probably want to but I hope you all buy the book, and I hope this is the start of lots more debate, lots more actually getting these issues on the agenda. I am worried about the lack of debate in this country, which is how I kept with Dan Hopkins again, because I went to some things called knowledge cafes. These aren't Attack is like a left-wing group, right? But knowledge cafes, they're not. But they're just people who actually want an alternative vehicle to get together and discuss things. And so they're a wonderful idea. It come from someone called David Gerting. He's got a website, he's got a newsletter and everything. And he just says to someone, do you want to put on a little talk at your place? And you say, yeah, that's why I did one here at South Bank. And then people will just get together and have a coffee and a chat. And I thought it was wonderful that they let me talk about, from my radical perspective, which is in a sense, they're knowledge consultants. They're not, but they're open to ideas and discussion. And we had a very interesting discussion on the one that I've organised. And I think it's wonderful that that he's doing this. But we need more of it. We need more debate. We need more chance to discuss things. And I feel that is seriously lacking today. Even on the television. I don't know if any of you, I've always been keen on the elections. The elections to me is so boring now, I can't stand it, Just like a soap powder, isn't it, Do you want Tony Blair or Michael Howard? It's like, do you want Purcell or Daz? It doesn't really matter. No, it's all the same. So we somehow need to get back the arena of political discussion, space, and just debate, I think. And hopefully my book will contribute a little towards that. I don't know, I've lots of people I could thank. I've thanked them all in my book, I guess, really. All the editors that have published my work. Obviously Glenn, my publisher, Glenn Jones, Dan Hopkins, people here at South Bank. Wonderful that I've got two people speaking at South Bank, George Bell and Dr. Lee Rose. There's so many people I could thank, really. The editor of Managing Information, Graham Court, I don't think he's here, but he said... so there's lots of people that... I'm somebody I've not got a very strong opinion, so the publisher wanted me to make it international perspective, so I did. That was actually quite demanding. So I look at sort of Canada, America, Europe, New Zealand, Australia, the developing world in regard to TRIPS. And basically, at the end, I place it into an open Marxist theoretical perspective, because I think we actually need to get back to basic Marxism to analyse and understand global capitalism. It's only by getting back to Marx's basic understanding of capitalism that we can actually theorise and understand the world that we live in today. I think we need to make Marxism applicable to the global capitalist world that we live in today. Marx began his analysis of capitalism with the commodity in Capital Volume 1, and he makes it very clear that's where we should start. And that was my passion behind my book, because services into intellectual property rights have been transformed into international tradable commodities, so it's a commodity. We need to understand that capitalism is about the commodification of all that surrounds us, basically. And the GATS and the TRIPS assist with this process, and I think that's why we've got to try and take hold of it and to try to look for an alternative. It's interesting, I spoke at a conference a few weeks ago at Cambridge, and a representative from the WTO was there, and he seemed quite down because people weren't actually debating the issues anymore. So to that extent, the left and the anti-global capitalist movement have actually been quite successful, because the actual negotiations on the GATS is at stalemate at the moment, because people do realise now this actually quite seriously threatens our way of life. The public services that we take for granted are seriously under threat. I mean, the GATS agreement is complex, and it appears to be, when we read it originally, that our services are safe. But then it says, unless there's any elements of competition. Well, private sector today has got lots of elements of competition in it, and that's why they've become vulnerable to the GATS. So that means that it paves the way for private companies to move in, and then that can threaten our way of life. And I think we need to wake up to the reality. And what bothers me again also is that the extent to which the media and people try to pull the wool over our eyes, and that's what's wonderful about writing a book, because you can expose all this and really try to get to the to the underlying core of what's going on, and not be fooled by all the soap and the froth and the rubbish that's talked. So wonderful, the vehicle to write and discuss. Okay, thank you, I'll leave it there. Thank you.